I would say give yourself a space to find a mentor, to find a mastermind group, and last but not least, really upskill yourself to go to the next level. You have a diamond that is within you and you deserve to shine. Make it happen.
Welcome to a new season of Leadership Live podcast, where talented people become extraordinary leaders. I'm Daphne Horowitz, and I'm here to help you cut through the noise and talk about real leadership issues. Down to earth, solid, caring and confident leadership. No theory, no pie in the sky, no frills or fluff. Because this is what the world needs most right now. For you to lead with confidence, clarity and impact so that you can build a business that builds people, grows profit and makes a difference. Today, I'm speaking with Genecia Alluora, a fascinating woman with a life story that is super inspiring. We started right at the beginning with her life story about how she was bullied at school to the point where she contemplated suicide at the age of 16. Her mother's words helped her turn that around. Turn your mess into your message is what she said. And these words have carried her throughout her life, with its twists and turns and ups and downs, and she's had many of those. She worked in many different roles in various industries as a beauty therapist, occupational therapist, matchmaker, and then a retail cafe, where she became the CEO of a global business. This business was eventually bought out by a Southeast Asian equivalent of Starbucks, turning her into a millionaire. Today, she understands that leadership is more than just a way to create or earn money. It's a way to develop new skills, build a life for yourself, and also create opportunities to develop the people around you. And this is what she is absolutely passionate about. As it happens with every business venture, it doesn't always go smoothly. In fact, it never goes smoothly. And Genecia experienced all of that, the challenges, the debt that she got into, and you'll hear all of that in her story. But the truth is that Genecia knows what she wants and she knows how to get it. And she has this resilience and perseverance that just makes her keep on going even when it's really, really tough. And she really has had some tough times. She shares all of that in this episode, which is absolutely fascinating. So her next thing is now building her dream business to help women own the F words, which for her are fabulous, freedom, financial independence, and having a happy family. So this episode is full of insights around how to build a business that spans 3 geographies, with some great tips on what to focus on here. And then we also spoke about what it feels like when you're doing really well, and for all external purposes, it looks like you're successful, but you still feel like something is missing. Her key message is about combining mentors, community, and systems. Find yourself a mentor or a coach or a trusted advisor that can really help you walk the journey, something that I totally subscribe to and align with as well, of course. Then build a community around you that can support you through tough times and good times. Again, a concept that I completely resonate with. And then, of course, create systems that support you on a practical level, which is something that we cannot forget about if we really want to succeed. So this is a great episode full of tips. It's both practical and inspirational. So as you listen, enjoy. And as always, for great leadership resources and information about our events and programs, head on to my website at daphnaHorowitz.com and grab yourself a copy of my book, Weekly Habits for Extraordinary Leaders, available on Amazon today. And always let me know, what are you thinking? What are your questions? What are your thoughts? Stay in touch on the various social media channels that I'm on, LinkedIn and Facebook mainly, and I would love to hear from you. Enjoy. So excited to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on your show.
You were a cafe retail chain owner with 18 franchisees and licenses across the globe. Is that correct?
Yeah. In three countries.
In 3 countries. Okay, in 3 countries. And you made a wonderful exit out of that business. You also spoke about how you had to start working at 14. You launched into a bit of a depression from there. And I love your mother's message, which you're going to tell us more about in terms of turn your mess into your message. Beautiful. I want to hear about that. But actually how you came out of that, built this empire of a business, became a millionaire, did an exit, and now your purpose is really about empowering women in particular to be able to feel that freedom, feel the passion, be purpose-driven, and really make something out of themselves and their lives. So we want to hear about this journey, Genecia. Welcome, and start maybe with that point in your story where your mom gave you that clear message. Turn your mess into your message. I love it.
Well, because I was often bullied in school because I had I don't have a lot of money, so I can't change my pencil box, or I wear the same bra and I wear the same stuff typically and carry the same stuff to school. So I was a target for this group of mean girls who consistently came up to me and did stuff to me, like throwing my books in one corner, my things go missing, my bag was thrown across the floor, my books all over the place. And there was one time in particular, which was the key point, is that they cornered me in a basketball court and pulled open my shirt and looked at my bra and said, "Oh, you're wearing the same bra?" And at that point in time, I felt humiliated.
How old were you?
I was 16.
Wow. That's awful.
And I
think that a lot of people can relate listening on the show at the moment, because bullying is something that happens all the time, everywhere, and it's very disempowering.
It is indeed. And I wanted to commit suicide. In fact, I did. In fact, it was a moment when I went to the kitchen, because here in Singapore, we live in high rise. Okay. So I live on the 10th floor, and my legs were already dangling from the window. I already climbed out of the window, and I was sitting on the window ledge thinking whether I should jump. And my mom somehow, even though it was a lazy afternoon, and she was very sharp, I think it's mom's intuition that every mother will have it. She just came to the kitchen and just grabbed me and yanked me back onto the kitchen floor. And then I was crying so terribly. I was sobbing, and I was just in a state of despair. I'm like, life is hopeless. Life is meaningless. What is my life when I'm in school? And often these people bully me and I have no meaning anymore. And I hate myself so much to be in the space where I am.
And your mom found you with your legs dangling from the kitchen window, ready to jump.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And she was the one who grabbed me and then pulled me back. So that was when she told me that statement, turn your mess into your message. And that was a aha moment for me to really turn every moment in terms of my failure and make that into a success. Because I was the youngest instructor, I was teaching, putting food on the table for myself to pay my tuition fees. So I was doing a lot of teaching as a yoga instructor, aerobics instructor, and a country line dancing instructor. And because I was very young at that point teaching, a lot of the adults are like, you're so young, what can you teach me? How can you guide me to exercise, So that also, after receiving a lot of criticisms, my mom's message that turn your mess into the message often ring in my ears and ring in my heart. And that helped me to move forward.
Was that like a wake-up call for you? Because when I can imagine the scene of you being really a very sad little girl, 16 years old is young. And she pulls you in, saves your life, and says, turn your mess into your message. Did that give you a bit of a wake-up call? Is that a moment where you made a decision, or did it take you a while to still process this and work through some of the things that you were going through?
Definitely a wake-up call, and will take some time to process. And it was through the years that I keep reflecting on this sentence, turn your mess into your message, and that keep ringing, and that's why I have the results I have today. I mean, the life that I came from before was the result of this sentence and statement from my mom.
Wow, that's amazing. That is a really, really powerful statement. Because we each have our journeys and our history and the life experience that we come with that is unique to us and also unique to how we move forward, how we create our future. And sometimes it is our messes that actually propel us into what we want to create and give us that motivation to really move forward. So tell us then what happened next, like how the whole, cafe retail chain started up. And you mentioned that this is the equivalent to Starbucks in Southeast Asia. So that's who bought your retail chain. So tell us about that journey a little bit as well.
Well, how I embarked the journey has to do with because I was doing image consultancy. I mean, I moved from being an occupational therapist, and I went through SARS, and I quit my job, and I said, okay, you know what? I want to pursue my dreams. And then I went on to this image consultancy business, and I was trading time for money. I work, I get paid. I work, I get paid. I don't work, I don't get paid. So it was a moment where I want to move online. So after I moved online in 2013, and that was when I was making $100,000 to $1 million. And that was a calling for me. My friend invited me and said, hey, would you like to invest and start a cafe retail chain? And we started that. So I put in money to grow the business. And I was in charge of PR and marketing. Now, it was not all a bed of roses, a walk in the park, because I never had truly a real business experience. I mean, managing HR operations and how do you manage costing, developing the franchise booklet. Yeah.
So before you went into investing in this opportunity, you were working as an occupational therapist. Is that what you were doing right before?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a big jump, as you say, all these areas of business to take on. Okay, carry on.
Yeah. I have no business knowledge. I mean, I'm in the medical industry, right? Healthcare. Yeah. I will not know what is business, right? So I had to learn on the job. I was willing to learn and be on the ground to work it through. And most importantly, what I learned doing a cafe retail chain is that you must really play your role and be in your own area of genius. Because I learned marketing after being an occupational therapist, and I worked on that. So my PR and marketing were quite strong. So I worked on that piece and for the cafe retail chain itself. So we grew to Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And I was in charge of that. Another partner in charge of business operations, and the other partner in charge of franchise, the other partner in charge of relationships, right? So different people come together, made it a lot of difference. But you see, before all these things happened, I actually suffered a loss before I actually embarked on this business partnership. I actually started a dating agency with 2 other partners before, and I suffered a loss because I didn't know how to do business partnerships properly. Wow. Because two of my friends they were my girlfriends. We started a business together. We didn't know how to manage it. They were just drawing the salary. I was a sleeping partner, so nobody knew how to do what. And in the end, I suffered a 6-figure debt.
Wow.
So that, because I was the biggest shareholder. The question is, when there's no money in the bank, who top up? And when I top up, are your shares going to be diluted? If there are no customers, who's responsible? Right? So all these things are what I learned through the school of hard knocks.
So actually you're saying that taking responsibility, knowing each other's roles, stepping in when you see that things are not working like they should, and getting your hands dirty, making things work, those are critical to making a business a success.
Yes, and also legalities as well. Really having a lawyer in place, a accountant sitting down, looking at all these pieces is important as well, because that was not defined when I did the failed business partnership. It was just on a napkin, right? Okay, you do this, and you do this. Okay, let's start a business. And how about the values of money? How do you put the values of money together? How $50,000, are you going to take it out and split it? Or are you going to reinvest back into the business? Like say you take $30,000, you reinvest back in the business, $20,000, you split. And then how are you going to manage the $50,000? Is it after less operational costs, marketing costs, whatever expenses, and then you split out? So there's a lot of things that money conversations that we don't talk about in terms of business partnerships like this. And the success versus the success I had in my cafe retail chain was completely different. We had discussions about the money, we have conversations about our roles and our conversations about scaling up, selling franchises, and going regional and international with our franchise and licenses. So that is a complete ball game altogether.
Sure. So what made you able to jump from a failed business that launched you into debt to trying again with a new opportunity? What made you actually take that? Because that requires courage. When we experience failure, we get scared, and yet you dived in again. So tell us about that decision.
I think two very important things. First was I had a community. I was in church, and back then I was in this group, and they kind of gave me a lot of support during my darkest moments when I was in a six-figure debt. Same thing, I almost committed suicide once again.
Wow.
Because I've lost so much money. I've never lost so much money in my entire life, and life is game over in terms of my financial peace that's within me. And luckily, there was one thing that kind of like saved me. So I really believe in community and support. So that has been a very consistent message in my life. And the second piece was that my mom, remember, turn your mess into your message. So that kind of resonated and continued to unravel in my life through my growing years. So these are the two main pieces that kept me going from a failed business partnership that I could have given up both my life and my business, and gave myself a second chance to move into this cafe retail chain. I would say give yourself a second chance and really have a strong support group, because that is going to tide you through the ups and downs in your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah. So having that support, having that community, I think that's something that I see a lot with the CEOs that I work with in terms of feeling all alone. You're carrying such a huge weight of responsibility on your shoulders. And at the same time, you're very excited about what you want to create with your business. But doing it alone is not ideal. I know that there are people who can do that. But when you create a community around you, which includes a team of mentors, peers, other CEOs that you can be in community with, guides, advisors, coaches, whatever it is, it can really help to, when you're meeting these challenges, really figure out what to do and how to handle it best, instead of either giving up or launching into this massive debt or massive problem. Really leaning into people who can support and help you to see a way out or think of how to do things differently or shift perspective. Very, very important. And always having a good mother on your side, right? That can give you a good kick in the backside. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, wow. Amazing. So you went into the second business, which was really, as we said, this cafe retail chain. What did you learn from leading such a big business? 18 stores across 3 countries, you said. What were your learnings there? What's your message in terms of leading a business like that?
Wow. I think the first thing is system and process is extremely important. I think that is something that I picked up as well, because to do a franchise is a duplication of a system, and how do you duplicate across different countries as well? I think that is important. And of course, what I also learned is when I do cross-country business, the laws and the ideas of how you do a business is very different. And how do you fit your menu into the culture as well? Okay. There is tweaks as well to the food that you're selling, the coffee they're selling to the people. Yeah, coffee is coffee, but in different countries, people drink coffee differently, even though it's the same cup of coffee, So that's
really knowing your customer. Knowing your customer and being able to change or pivot your message or your offer in terms of, or your product, in terms of who your customer really is and what the culture of that customer is. But also you're saying systems and processes, which are sometimes, would be labeled maybe the more mundane part of business. And yet those are absolutely critical. It's having the systems in place, having the processes, making sure your legal and accounting processes are firmly established and in place, that you have people guiding you there, because that's the foundation of a solid business.
Yeah, definitely. Because when you go cross country, their laws are very different. Their accounting laws are different. Their manpower laws are different. Everything is different. So if you don't have that to guard you, and then that's when things will fall apart. But good thing that we have very good franchisees who understands how to maneuver these paths. So it was really amazing.
Wow. So then you got to this exit. You were purchased by, as I said, the Southeast Asia equivalent of Starbucks. And what did you learn from that?
Wow, it's all about negotiation. I think everyone wants to buy in a certain way. I think that exit journey was pretty interesting for me. I was not totally fully involved in that because my main partners are involved in the key stakeholders are involved in that. I'm more of wrapping up the entire marketing and, handing over and how do we do the handover. So I think that was more of my involvement.
Did you want to sell? Was that a surprise that people wanted to come and buy your business?
Well, definitely, to build a business, you want to exit because that's why you do business, right? I mean, of course, you can hold on to your baby, but if there's an opportunity to exit and build another one, then why not? So to me, exit was something that has been on our minds, and it was beautiful that we could exit our business. But truly, to exit is not just to you have to be, that's why I said system and process really guided us. And it was because of that helped us to exit easily.
Amazing. So now I know that you said that this gave you the platform or the opportunity to really connect with your passion and what you want to do in terms of empowering women in business. So tell us a bit about that. And I'm also curious to know if you are ready to take on your next business and invest into growing something new.
Well, when I was doing my cafe retail chain, I discovered my higher purpose or calling, that is to really help women and focus on the F word, which is being fabulous, having freedom, financial independence, and a happy family. So even though I was running a cafe retail chain, I had money, I had power, I had everything I wanted, but I just felt empty. My soul was calling for help. It was like, okay, I'm doing the business. Yeah, okay, my body is running through the entire operations and marketing, but my soul is like drifting else somewhere. So that was really a self-discovery, I would say.
How did you become aware of that?
It was through the moments when you are doing a business that you don't really find joy. You don't really find that joy or that peace that's within you. I think for me, that is kind of like an intuition thing. Even though I could run a business successfully, a cafe retail chain, but internally that intuition comes to me and say, hey, you're called for something else. Are you doing what God has called you to do?
It's interesting because you talk about 3 parts of your life that have a similar flavor to it, right? The first, when you were 16 and contemplating suicide and your mother caught you in the kitchen. Then when you were, after this failure of the business and launched into a, 6-figure debt. And then you were super successful running this amazing business, and it still had a flavor of something's not right. I'm not happy. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, definitely.
So you had 2 instances where you were kind of really at the bottom of the, what do we call it? At the bottom of the ladder in terms of the successes in your life. You weren't feeling successful. And then you had a situation where you were really, really successful and yet also not happy. So how do you explain that? What do you make of it, at least?
I think the key thing is I really believe in alignment of mind, body, and soul. So sometimes when we are so focused on developing and making profits and doing business because of that, that drive and the need to grow or go to the next level, we sometimes forget who we are in terms of our anchor and our soul. So that has been a key message, I would say, throughout my entire life, where I talk about the soul rich woman. I mean, being the entirely alignment of who you are, what you believe in, and what you do. So that is what I make out of it. And that's why I birthed forth a Soul Rich Woman in 2015. And that is the next platform that we are doing now, which connects female entrepreneurs in the region to help them to go from offline to online, to focus, to get more leads and clients, and most importantly, to own their F word, which is being fabulous, having freedom, financial independence, and a happy family. You see,
I love those F words. They're absolutely wonderful. But so what's interesting for me is that actually, even when you were successful, you still didn't have that connection to passion and purpose, and that was missing for you. So part of, I would imagine, the Soul Rich Woman is making sure that even what you do, even if you're really, really successful, still ask yourself the question, why am I doing this? Is it connecting to who I am and my sense of purpose and mission in this world?
Because a cafe retail chain was, because I had a lot of money, right? I made my $1 million, and when my friend asked me, do you want to invest in a cafe retail chain? I'm like, okay, I got to park my money somewhere to grow the investment. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So it was kind of a decision making that I reflected that I would not say that it was wrong, but I would say that it's something that when you say, okay, where do I park my money? There's an opportunity, you just go ahead and do it, right? It's only through the journey that we discovered that path may not be the calling or purpose that has been called upon on our life. So for me, the Soul Rich Woman piece was awakened. I believe that if I had not gone through the cafe retail chain piece, that piece of the key to awaken the other part to go into this purpose-driven platform would have been an entirely different process and journey.
How did you discover this purpose-driven part of you? How did you discover that this is what you wanted to do?
It just felt right.
Wow. Amazing. So I'm trying to break it down. So if someone's if one of the listeners out there is sitting and thinking, I'm feeling like maybe I'm successful, maybe I'm not successful, because it doesn't really matter, but I'm feeling like something is missing and I don't really know if I'm working in my passion or if I'm driven by purpose. How do I find it?
I think the most important part that, like I've mentioned, is just keep going. Sometimes there's never a right path or right answer, and the goals that you set is not fixed, right? As you are moving towards a goalpost, imagine you set a goalpost right in front of you, 50 yards away. But as you get closer to that goalpost, and you realize, hey, there's some changes I would like to tweak, and you just move that goalpost to the right, just like, to the right, and then continue walking and going at it. I think this piece of not being able to love yourself and knowing that nothing's perfect in this world, I think that is something we must accept first, and know that as we take actions, and that will reveal the next path moving forward. And that has really evidently shown to me. Like I said, if I did never do the cafe retail chain, I would have not known this was the major piece for the rest of my life.
How did it come to you?
Like that, first and foremost, you must know what's empty and unhappy before you know what's sweet and a success.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that contrast helped me to recognize. I think the two skill sets that I had was being reflective. You reflect, and then number two, I had mentorship as well. So the mentor was allowing me to bounce off that piece with me, and allowing to discover and kind of give me that dots and points to connect with each other.
Yeah, I think that's a good point actually that you're raising, Genecia, is that sometimes we can't figure it out all on our own, because I find that often, and again with people that I work with, and similarly with me, even my whole journey around purpose has been, you think about things in your head and you keep going around in circles sometimes, because it's difficult to find a way out, because it's all in your own perspective and your own way of thinking. And when you do engage with other people, whether you talk to mentors or, as I said, coaches or advisors or friends or peers, it starts to, and people who can really challenge your thinking, it starts to generate new ideas and new ways of thinking. And then leading into what feels right and trying something, taking action, as you said. And if it doesn't work, you can adjust and then try something else. So I think it's a combination of thinking, reflecting, speaking to other people, brainstorming together and getting your thinking challenged, and taking action and seeing what sticks and what doesn't stick. And as you said, when you know that it's not right, you know it's not right. And when you know that it's right, you know that it's right.
Yeah. And what I love about the mentorship is, and also what you say, a community, I would like to suggest, if someone is new and you're starting out in terms of finding a mentor, sometimes you could start with a beta group or a mastermind group, 2 to 3, a maximum 5 people whom you could connect with, and find a space that you could be a contributor rather than a taker. Because the different is very different when we say, oh, let's join a community, let's join a support group and get different perspective. But a lot of people sometimes forget that they're taking without giving. So just a gentle reminder to give first and at the same time receive.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. So Genecia, what is your message for people who are listening and really want to draw some inspiration from your own story and some of your own learnings? What is your message?
I think give yourself a second chance. And during this time where pandemic has happened, you could be pivoting, you could be looking for a way out. I would say give yourself a space to find a mentor, to find a mastermind group, and last but not least, really upskill yourself to go to the next level. You have a diamond that is within you and you deserve to shine. Make it happen.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I've got a couple of questions that I generally ask when I interview someone, and because I really talk a lot about leadership habits and how when you're a leader, you really need to know what your bad habits are and what your good habits are, because that is what you build on in order to create some of the practical approach to leadership. So over your vast experience, what would you say is your worst leadership habit and best leadership habit?
My worst leadership habit is sometimes I care too much about my employees, what they think, how they feel. Anyway, I sometimes go too deep into those spaces and I can't get myself out. So I think it's important to really work with my HR to manage that, because I like to talk to my people, my team, and that makes, I want to help them to feel that it's part of the team and of course the family. I think that's one piece. And
so
then also,
let's just dig a little bit deeper into that. So you're saying it's the over involvement, because it's important to care about your people and to get to know them. At what level is it too much? At what level does it become a bad habit?
I think at the point where your emotions and everything just get drained and pulled into it, just get sucked into it. And then I become unproductive for the rest of the day because I'm just in my mind thinking about, okay, what's happening to this person,
Okay,
I think I'm not able to disconnect.
Yes.
I'm not able to disconnect. So that's
so you're
something
taking it on as if it's your own problem. So it's the point of empathy is to really feel that level of empathy and support, but not to make it your own problem. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So that's something that is my worst leadership habit. Something that I feel that is really one of my best leadership habit is the art of delegation.
Fantastic. That's a good one. That's one that people struggle with. Good. So what is your secret to great delegation? What is your secret to that?
I think it's really the training through the cafe retail chain, as well as the systems and process. You really need to be able to list out what you want to do and really build that out for the people who come on board to your team. And don't expect them to be mind reader of what you want them to do. Instead, give them a leeway of what is some measure of mistakes that they can make and empower them to do it, and not always think that you can do the best in every single task.
I love that. I'm a big believer in that, actually, is to really, and I say this often as well, is to allow people to make mistakes. If it's not going to break your business, allow people to make the mistakes so that they can learn from them, because that is how we learn also, from how we fail, not from getting everything right and having so little room to maneuver that there's no authority. You have to constantly ask your boss for permission for everything, you're not really learning anything in that
and
situation.
that's micromanaging, and that's not the path we want to go, because our team are remote employees, so you can't just micromanage every single one of them.
And last question, are you a morning person or a night person?
I am a morning person.
Are you?
I used to be a night person, and for the longest time I have always told myself I'm a night owl, I cannot get up early. But you see, I discovered when you have a purpose-driven life, and when you take a different perspective on the things you want to do and the life you want to live and the role model that you want to become for your family, the F word, and that is when things are going to change.
I love that. Thank you, Genecia. Final words before we say goodbye. I just so appreciate you being here and sharing your story, which is absolutely inspiring and fascinating as well. What are your final words for us?
I have 2 free gifts for you. And if you enjoyed today's episode, I have a personal branding book that I'd like to gift it to you. And also a workbook on how to delegate 80% of your to-do list to your assistant so that you can make money online and focus on your zone of genius. And both of them are available at soulrichwoman.com. And that is SOULRICHWOMAN.com.
Awesome. And we will put that in the show notes as well, together with all the other links that people can get hold of you on. So thanks so much for being here today, and continue to do the amazing, inspiring work that you're doing for women and with women.
More power to you.
This wraps up another episode of Leadership Live. Thank you for joining us today. And now let's continue the conversation. Do you have any questions, comments, or suggestions? Connect with me on LinkedIn or head on to my website at daphnahorovitz.com, where you can download a free sample of my new book, Weekly Habits for Extraordinary Leaders. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend so that I can continue to reach and support leaders just like you. So tune in next week to Leadership Live, where talented people become extraordinary leaders.